Hello everyone, I'm AnimusJ and welcome to another Redstone tutorial. And now these instructions are all for the Bedrock edition of Minecraft. I am on Windows 10. However, all Bedrock should be the same whether you're on your phone, whether you're on a console, whether you're on a computer, does not matter as long as it is the Bedrock edition. So getting into that, what we're going to look at today, so before we went through Redstone basics, so if you're completely new to Redstone and you don't know any of these things that I'm showing right now, go back and check out the basics Redstone tutorial and then come back to this one because this one is kind of intermediate stuff. Well, it's a step up. So what we're gonna do is today we're gonna look at a couple of clocks and a couple different things you can do with Redstone. So the first one we have is a rapid clock. Now in Bedrock you cannot make zero tick clocks, as far as I know anyways. You cannot make zero tick clocks like you can in Java Edition. So what we have here is a pulse, basically a non-stop pulse. This thing is never going to stop. And there's two ways that you can do this one. You can do two observers facing into each other like so. All you got to do is place one down and then place the other one looking into it, and then add your redstone, and you can add it on either side. But one thing you need to know is when you have a pulse like this, let's say you're trying to power your redstone lamps, not lanterns. Your redstone lamp is too slow of a pulse in order to flash on and off. So if you're trying to create a flickering effect with that, it will not work. But if you're using something like a piston, as you can see, that will work. If you're trying to do the single observer method, what you have to do is you place down your observer and then you're going to wrap it starting at the back end around into the forward like so. And now what's happening is it's detecting the redstone turning on and then it's turning it back on. So every time the redstone pulses, the observer sees it and repowers it, and then all you have to do is obviously you take your line to whichever direction you need to do whatever you need it to do. After that fast redstone clock, what we have is a cheap and slow clock. Now, the way that this one works is you use an armor stand just floating around in, I was gonna say a circle, but let's be fair, this is Minecraft, so it's a square, right? Now, what I've done is I've just made water blocks, and if you don't know how to do continuous water around in a loop like this, what you do is you put down water in a spot up above. It's got to be the second block high. You put a sign behind it and you put a pressure plate underneath it, and you just repeat accordingly. So what I've done is I've put these pressure plates around, and every time this armor stand goes over that pressure plate, you can see it powers my redstone line. Now, something to note is these soul sand blocks. I have soul sand underneath where he is right now, and he does go considerably slower than it does on the grass. So watch, we have power there. As he wraps around faster, look at the speed right now, and back to being slow again. So what you can do is you can turn things on for just a pulse. For instance, this redstone lamp right here, on, and then back off as soon as he's off the lamp. Or you can turn things on and off as I've done with this dispenser. Okay, so once it gets around, it's gonna turn this dispenser water on. There we go. And then when he gets to the next one, it turns the water back off again. And that's useful for things like mob farms. If I ever build a mob farm early game where I don't have a lot of redstone resources, what I'll do is I'll make one of these cheap clocks in order to turn my dispenser water on and off. Now, moving on, we have the ridiculously long clock. And the way that this one works is it shoots an item through this water elevator up over into your cobwebs. Now, you can make these cobwebs almost as long as you want. You just can't make it longer than 5 minutes because the item will despawn in 5 minutes. And that's also why you have to have the dropper and the hopper down here at the bottom. If you don't have these and you just have the item continuously looping without these, it will despawn after 5 minutes. Now with the current setup of 2 cobwebs, it takes about 1 minute for it to cycle all the way through. So you can see it slowly makes its way through the cobwebs. The hopper picks it up, puts it into the dropper, and then what you do is you do a comparator coming off of the hopper into a repeater, redstone wrapped around into your dropper just like so, and you have a pressure plate right in front of the dropper, and what that'll do is that'll power on your lantern, your piston, whatever it is that you want to power once that item gets picked up, which I think I may have picked up accidentally. Okay, I think it was, I think the first one was just my fault. So yeah, cobwebs right there and everything should work smoothly, give you a pulse. Oh, okay, so it looks like there are times where it does miss, but what you could do actually is extend it out so that you have your dropper and then your pressure plate is 2 spots away. So just extend it by 1 block from what I have, and the item will hit it every single time. Now, moving on, all of these are one-time pulses, which maybe you don't want a one-time pulse. What you want is for something to turn off and then turn on. And so the way you do that is called a T flip-flop. Now, here's the easiest one to make. It's a dropper on the bottom facing up, and then a dropper above that facing away to the side. You have a comparator facing away from your top dropper, and then underneath the comparator is actually a hopper pointing into the bottom dropper. So if I were to build that right now, dropper facing up, dropper facing me, break this block, a hopper going into the bottom one, and then a comparator going away. Now what that's going to do is this button facing into the bottom. Now you have to have a repeater going into the top dropper or none of this will work. What'll happen is I walk over this and you can see our button is now in the top. The comparator is recognizing it and it's powering our lamp. I walk over it again. Our button is back in the bottom. So we're bud powering this top dropper, and that's why the redstone repeater has to be there, is because it'll spit out what's inside of this, or if nothing's inside of it, it bud powers this bottom one to spit it up into the top one and keeps it going in a constant loop. So we have on and we have off. And moving on to the last one is maybe sometimes you want a double pulse for whatever reason. If you want something to trigger 2 pulses rather than just 1 pulse. Now, this definitely only works in Bedrock because this is how you make a 0-tick pulse, I believe, in Java Edition. But here on Bedrock, because Redstone is slower, what you do is you have your input, so you can take it off of your clock or whatever you want, or a step pressure plate. I'm just using a button for the sake of demonstration. It's got to be a repeater into a gravity-based block, so sand or gravel will do just fine. A spot of redstone, and then your lamp, your piston, whatever it is that you want to use. So watch what happens when I press the button. We get 2 pulses. And the reason that that happens is because this repeater is powering through the sandstone, putting redstone right here, powering this redstone right here, which then powers the lantern. What it also does is this cuts off, and the repeater is still powered. This guy is powering this for the repeater is still being powered, then powers this one for a second go because it's feeding through to this redstone dot. So you see the length of time that this is on is constantly powering this, and I bet so. That is it for this intermediate tutorial, guys. I hope that helps you out with some of the stuff that you're trying to build, some of the things you're trying to make in your farms or in your house to make things fancy, get some redstone power going on. But if this did help you, make sure to hit that like button below. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. And also, I would love to have you join us in Discord. We have a great community going on in the Discord where we chat, hang out with each other, share builds, share ideas, all that kind of stuff. The link for that is in the description below. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm AnimusJ, and I'll see you next time.